Hello YouTube, I'm the Norwegian Completionist, and this is going to be my Cougar hunting guide for Red Dead Redemption 2. Currently I'm working on a series of hunting videos. I've already made one for moose, but in this series I'm going to be keeping it entirely spoiler free, so I'm not including any stuff that you unlock later on once you completed the main story. So if you're interested in seeing that, then subscribe to the channel. So, when you're hunting cougars, you have two options. Either you can go to Blackbone Forest, which is in the big valley on the west side of the map. Now, there is only one cougar that spawns here. He can spawn either here along the river, or he'll spawn on either side of the road up here. Now, there is a method of essentially power farming this cougar by killing it and then leaving the area, sleeping twice, and then re-entering and hoping that he'll respawn. Personally, I find this method to be pretty inefficient just because it takes a while to get the cougar to respawn, and even when it does, it's not guaranteed to be a pristine pelt, which is unfortunate. So you can end up spending a lot of time achieving nothing. Now, if you only need one pelt, you can obviously head up here and do this and just pray that you get lucky. Otherwise, I'll show you the method that I've been using that I feel is far, far superior. Now, if you really want to farm some cougar pelts, you should travel to Roanoke Ridge. Now, I've placed markers on the map here to show you the route that I've been using. Simply travel to each of these locations, and if a cougar's in the area, obviously you just kill it and move on. Otherwise, you drop a single predator bait, you move away to a safe distance and wait for an animal to spawn. Now, there are only 5 potential animals that can spawn in these locations when you're using this bait. And it's coyotes, foxes, wolves, bears, and of course the cougar. So you simply travel from location to location, you rinse and repeat this process until a cougar spawns, then you move on to the next one. Now, I'm going to be showing you the route that I've been using. Obviously you don't have to follow this, but here travel south to Village West, then further south down to this location northeast of Annesburg, then I've traveled up here to Reed College, then on top of Roanoke Ridge itself, and then south from there down to the location where it actually just says Annesburg on the map. So now I'm just going to be showing you each individual location and where to place the bait. So let's get started. So the first location is going to be near Beaver Hollow by the river here. Now, if you've seen my moose video, this is the same location that I used in that one. The first thing you're going to want to do when you arrive at any of these locations is check for obviously a nearby cougar and also any nearby random events, as these sometimes seem to interfere with animal spawns. Now, the really great thing about using this method, or just hunting with bait in general, is that any animals that spawn because of your bait won't have an assigned star rating. All this really means is, as long as you use the correct weapon and you hit the animal properly, you will always get a perfect pelt. And you'll be able to see that in this clip. If you look up on the hill there, I've actually just killed a wolf, and a cougar is about to spawn right behind it. You can't see it just yet. But when I target this cougar, you'll see that it won't have a star rating. Like if you target any animal in the wild, you can always see if they have 1, 2, or 3 stars, and this won't have any. So this is really why this method, in my opinion, is so much better than the other ones.
Whoa, easy. Easy, girl. I'm nearly there.
So, the second location is going to be up here near Dover Hill. And again, it's going to be the same thing. Check for any random events, check for any cougars, then drop a single predator bait on the ground and find a safe vantage point. Now, the vantage point that I use in this video isn't that great. You don't really have clear vision of the area where you place the bait, so in this clip I end up making a pretty crucial mistake. So I end up sitting up top of this hill here for a while and I can't see anything down there. And I make the assumption that I haven't spawned anything. So I ride down there only to come face to face with a cougar, which is unfortunate. And I end up shooting it in the air and ruining the pelt. So obviously don't want to do that, so maybe if you can find a better vantage point than the one I'm using, then go for it. So here I got pretty much just tired of waiting, so I rode down, and as you can see, there was a cougar sitting there all along, but I didn't see it. And on top of that, I also had my scope activated on my Springfield, which was also a bad idea. And yeah, I ended up ruining this pelt. So when you do a full lap of this route, you can actually get 7 perfect cougar pelts, and on this one I only get 6 because I messed this one up. So the third location is going to be south of Willard's Rest, near the train tracks here. Now personally, this is one of my favorite locations to do this, just because it's a huge open area with a great vantage point on the other side of the tracks. Obviously this makes it a lot easier to kill the cougar from a safe distance. And also it's really great if you're doing Master Hunter 6, which requires you to kill 5 cougars with a bow. This spot is fantastic for this, and it really shows the importance of a good vantage point when you're using this method.
Slow it up. Easy, whoa. Yep. I know, girl. Just give me a second.
So the fourth location is going to be northeast of Annesburg, right below the train tracks and right next to a graveyard. Now, the vantage point that I use in this clip isn't that great either, and you can choose another one if you want. All you really have to do is get used to the distance you have to travel from the bait in order to spawn the animals properly, and you should be fine.
Easy. Real good. Okay there, boy. Easy now. Won't take long, boy.
So the fifth location is going to be near Reed Cottage, directly north of it, and we're going to be placing the bait on the cliff here. Now there's something I should mention about this location, is that sometimes when you place the bait where I'm placing it in this clip, the animal will spawn on the road behind me, which is where my horse is. But other times the animal will spawn below the cliff, which means you might not see it right away. And I'll show you a clip of each situation so you know what to expect.
You all right there, boy? How you doing, boy?
So here you can see the cougar actually spawn on the road, and it's just standing there, and it's very easy to shoot it. This is obviously great, but this is not always what's going to happen, and I'll show you that here in a second.
Easy there. There, girl.
So in this clip I did basically the exact same thing, only during the day. And as you can see, the cougar actually appears down there, by the rock down there. Which makes it a bit more awkward, but it still works obviously, so just be aware that that can happen.
Yep. Easy. Whoa.
So, location number 6 is going to be on top of Roanoke Ridge itself. Nothing too special about this area, you just do the same thing. Only thing here is that the line of sight can be pretty poor sometimes. So it can create some awkward situations, but you should be fine. So just spawn a cougar here and then we'll move on to the last spot.
Yeah, you all right there, boy? There we go. Easy.
So the 7th and the last location I'm going to be showing you in this video is going to be right south of where it says Ansberg on the map. Now in this clip I actually didn't even see the cougar spawning. I just dropped the bait, then I moved off, and I heard some commotion down on the road, and the cougar was just chasing some random dudes along the road. So that can obviously happen as well. Now sometimes you can try placing it, I guess, a bit further from the road to avoid that happening, but it doesn't really matter that much.
Slow up now.
So I'm just going to take this opportunity to mention the fact that earlier on when I was making this video, I had closer to 13 locations that I was testing out. And you can still see that if you're watching some of the clips and you're seeing markers on the map that I don't mention or I don't show you, then the reason simply is that some of them seem to be shared between one cougar, just like the one in Blackbone Forest. And so once you'd spawn a cougar in one of them, you couldn't spawn one in the next one, or at least it seemed that way. So if you're seeing any markers on the map and you're confused about why I'm not showing them to you, then that's the reason. So you should just stick to these 7, and I think 7 should be more than enough. Once you've done this lap, that can take you sometime between maybe 40 minutes to an hour, depending a bit on your luck and a bit on your efficiency. You should have 7 cougar pelts, and that's obviously should be more than enough for anything you might need. So, once you've completed the lap, just head to the nearby trapper to sell all your stuff. Now, if you're worried about dying, you can obviously do this at any point, so you don't lose your pelts. I just personally prefer to complete the lap before traveling down here, just to keep it as efficient as possible. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, as I did just start this channel and that would really help me out. If you have any criticism or anything you feel like I could have done better in this video, I'd really love to hear that too, because nothing would help me more. With that said, I wish you the best of luck, and that's going to be all from me this time, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, ran into a glut of these, did you? All right, can't hurt to be stocked up with these.
Been a pleasure doing business with you.